You know, they have all the different kinds of moms in the neighborhood. You know what I'm talking about. There's like the cupcake moms that do all the baking, and they're the ones that show up at the school parties. And then you have like the Pinterest moms that do all the craftsy stuff, and their house is always beautifully decorated. You got the party moms that invite the whole neighborhood over for the swim party. Yeah, all those moms. Yeah, I wasn't that mom. I was that mom. My job in the neighborhood was to make all the other mothers in the neighborhood feel better about themselves, because, you know, as they looked at their own failings as a mother, they could look at me and say, well, at least I'm not Jamie. Her children are like feral cats roaming the neighborhood. And that was okay. I accepted this. Somebody needs to be that mom. But as my kids aged, my son hit the point where he was ready to go to college. And I thought, I know college. This is my chance to shine as a mom. I will be college mom. And so I got very involved. All those things I hadn't been engaged in before, I was very involved. We're doing applications, we're doing the visits, we're talking to everybody. Heck, I'm helping the other parents and the other kids. And when he got into college, I thought, this is great. I know how to do college. And so I was giving him lots of advice and suggestions, because kids love it when you do that. And when he went off to school and he was busy, so I was calling him regularly to say, hey, have you met with this advisor, and have you talked to this professor? And he quit responding to my calls, but you know, that's just a generational thing. They don't use the phone anyway. So I thought I'll text. So I started texting him suggestions and tips 4 or 5 times a day, and he wasn't responding. And I thought, gosh, he must be really busy at college. And so when he came home, I think he needed money, we were sitting around the table and we were talking, and I said, hey son, how's it going? Have you met with this person? Have you done this for him yet? And my middle school daughter, the wise one in the family, said, Mom, are you capable of having a conversation with him where you don't nag? I was nagging. She was right. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was so focused on being helpful. I was so focused on being that great mom that I'd envisioned. I didn't even realize that I was torturing my son. And he had completely withdrawn from the conversation, and I hadn't even noticed it. And this happens in conversations. And so today we're going to look at, how do we recognize when the conversation's actually not happening, even though we think it may be? And what are the 4 things that we can do to get that conversation back on track so it's actually productive and profitable for everyone involved? So we looked at some of the research that I pulled together on the attitudes and the thoughts of young people now in the workplace. And it's exciting, right? We're thinking, great, these kids are smart, they're driven, they have lots of initiative, they like to work independently. All of that's what we want. And you're right, it's what you want. But here's how it plays out in reality. I had a young person that I placed with one of my top companies that I work with for an internship for the summer. And so he came in to do his internship, and he started, and they gave him the project for the summer, and they were like, this is gonna be great, you're gonna learn so much. And he said, yeah, I can't wait. And 2 days later, he came back and said, okay, I did my summer project, now what? Now, one thing to know is this generation is really good at applying tools and finding automated solutions. Whatever problem you have, there's an app for that. They know what it is. So he solved the whole summer's problem in 2 days and went to the manager and said, now what? And the manager said, well, why don't you ask around and see if you can find another project to work on? And he said, okay, I'm on it. So the student, not wanting to bother any of his coworkers because they looked really busy, decided to go out and call some of the key corporate clients of the company, specifically the CEOs. Might as well start at the top. And said, hey, what more could we be doing for your organization than we're already doing? And then talking to them, got some feedback, and then it came out, he said, well, would it be helpful if we did some training for you on how we're investing your money and managing your resources? And the CEO said, yeah, that'd be good. And he said, all right. He called up Goldman Sachs in New York and said, hey, would you be willing to fly down to Houston and do a presentation for some CEOs over investment strategy and how we manage our money? And Goldman said, sure, we'll send a contract. And he said, great. And then he called the Hilton and he said, hey, can I reserve a ballroom so Goldman Sachs can come and do a presentation to a bunch of CEOs this summer? And they said, no problem, we'll send a contract. The manager found out when his student intern presented him with the contracts to sign. At which point, the manager called me and yelled at me, because that seems to be what they do. And he said, what's wrong with your student? And I said, well, The story you're telling me, it looks like he's really bright. He has a lot of initiative. He's a good creative problem solver. Sounds like you got a good one. And he said, yeah, but did you hear what he did? I said, yeah. Why did he do that? Well, you told him to find something to do. Well, he should have known better to do what he did. I said, well, apparently he didn't. So let's look at how we can keep this from happening again. And I get these calls again and again, because you think about the student, this is the one you want on your team, right? You want the smart one, you want the driven one, you want the problem solver. You just want him to do it within the context of your company and how it works. He's never done that before, he doesn't know how to do it. And these types of misunderstandings happen over and over again. And they don't have to be the end of the world. They can be easily managed. And today we're going to talk about the 4 things I see companies do the most that prevent them from getting the full profit and productivity that they can from their youngest employees, because they can be your very, very best if you manage them right. So let's get started. The truth is, having a constructive, rational conversation when you're under stress, that's not normal. That's not normal, natural behavior. I mean, think about it. All of us have a little caveman deep down inside of us, right? And that little caveman, way back when it was living in the caves with the other cave people, it knew the only way to survive and not get eaten by the dinosaur is to stay in the group. And so it's a matter of life or death to stay in the group. And so when you're in a conflict situation, no matter how rational you are as a civilized human being, that little caveman jumps up and says, conflict? Oh, that's scary, because if we get kicked out of this relationship, we could die. And it reacts just like a dinosaur's coming after you. And it dumps all of this adrenaline. And you may get sweaty, your heart may go up, your breathing may get more shallow. You get nervous. And you think, I can't even function. So you do one of 2 things. You go into fight mode, you get defensive and angry. You're going to go club the dinosaur over the head, because that's what we've been programmed to do. Or you shut down and withdraw. You don't participate at all. You go into flight mode. That same fight or flight that saved our predecessors from the dinosaurs is killing us in conversations. Because think about it, we do it. When it's really important, when it's the most important, we're at our worst. We're much more likely to go defensive or withdraw when it really matters. And so to overcome that takes a serious act of will that can overcome all of our biological programming. It's no different from, you think about it, if somebody puts a giant slice of chocolate cake in front of you with ice cream on it, and warm cookies on the side. Your inner caveman knows this is good food. It's got sugar and fat and chocolate and everything I need to survive, and we're gonna eat all of it. And your civilized brain says, I think I'd rather have kale. Because kale, I mean, seriously, have you ever really wanted kale? Anyone that's eating kale is doing it as an act of will. And those of you that say you love kale, eat it raw. Tell me you love it. It takes an act of will. Same thing. To say, I'm going to come out of this fight or flight in this conflict situation and go into a rational, constructive, productive conversation takes that same strength and act of will that refusing that chocolate cake does. It's not natural. So to overcome it takes some training and takes some practice. So today we're going to come up with 3 simple steps that can help you overcome these barriers. But here's the real challenge. The person you're dealing with, they've got the same caveman. They're in the same fight or flight than you are. And you know the worst part is, you can't make your act of will their act of will. That's actually a form of fight where you're just kind of clubbing them over the head and pulling them out of the cave. You have to make them want to come have a conversation with you. You have to make them want to get past their fight or flight. It's okay though, it can be done. And those same 3 steps that work for you, we'll show you how to use them with other people so that they want to come to the conversation. And instead of being fight or flight, we can all be constructive, productive, and profitable in our conversations.